Captain's log, star date. Actually, never mind about the star date. In preparations for establishing a hub of science and technological innovation around the orbit of the planet we have crashed upon, I have constructed a series of large radar dishes with which we shall beam information and receive signals. Wait a second. Is that music? Alright, time to get this show on the road. Today we're going to be making Rocket Science Pack, and we're going to be researching all of this stuff. First things first, we've got to start sending low-density structures and heat shielding off to Morpheus so we can bring the Vulcanite back here and also into orbit to make the Rocket Science Pack. And we are creating the delivery cannon capsules. They're going to go over the limit, which I have set at 50 for each. They're delivering past that point because the delivery cannons already had shells pre-made, but they should stop in just a second. And I will double check that. Alright, good. So these aren't enabled because they're waiting on a signal, but we do have the capsules backing up on the belt. That's good. And if we go back here, I can see that the inserters have indeed turned off. They are no longer delivering delivery cannon capsules. That's good. It's working. Fantastic. Next step, go back to space. And step right after that, figure out how we're going to deliver all these things and get them organized onto belts and that kind of thing. They're going to be landing in these delivery cannon chests. Then we're going to put them on a space transport belt. Space transport belt is just like a blue belt. We're still in our starter build phase. We've just exported everything from our starter build up into space. This is still starter build territory. So we're not going to be compressing these belts, but I think it still makes sense to probably put everything on its own belt, not try to mix belts to make it more compact. I mean, we literally have infinite space in space, so it's okay to have everything on its own belt. I think we're going to do something like this to get the stuff out of the delivery cannon chest onto the belt. Now, we could do it a little bit more compact. I could do something like this. Let's move down a second. Let's move down here. Little workshop. Could do this. This would be fairly compact, but there might come a time where I want at least a full compressed belt of this stuff. I could do something like that, and there could be one there and one there. Something like this, and we can have underground belts with the ones behind them doing that kind of thing. And it could be nice and compact. That would be pretty nice. But eventually we might want a compressed belt, and it'll be harder to add a second set of stack inserters with that kind of idea. So this, I think in the long run, is just going to be cleaner. If I need to compress that belt, we can do something like that with just adding a few extra items, and it won't impact how we design the build. So if I do that for each item, maybe can we possibly tile this? Oh, look at that. Oh, perfect. Okay, I think that's going to work just fine. And then we are going to need to transmit a signal for all the stuff coming from Nalvis, and we're going to need a second signal getting transmitted for the Vulcanite. And then we're also going to need to unbarrel our liquids being delivered up here, so that's going to be a little bit different. So I think it's probably easiest to just immediately, upon getting the barrels in the delivery cannon chest, immediately start unbarreling them. So let's say we're going to empty the water barrel. And then maybe we will use a tank and then a pump so that we have full throughput from that point. And then we'll have to do something with the barrels. So that would output the barrels. The only thing it's going to have that can go on a belt is the empty barrel, so we don't need a filter inserter or anything like that. Let's move this down a piece a little bit, like that. And then the only problem here is that we don't have room for things like underground belts if I mirror this. So what if I do something like that, and this, and this, and that? And then we just have sort of the opposite. That could be a different liquid. And then we have room for the underground belts. We can get rid of the barrels, and we can send those off to the trash compactor, and then we can organize the pipes after that. Actually, something I realized we can do is we can use the delivery cannon chests as a pass-through for the empty barrels. And that way, we don't need the extra space over here for underground belts. That means we can tile things more nicely. We can make it more symmetrical. It's more compact overall. It just looks nicer. Looks way nicer as long as this thing never fills up with the filled barrel that it's receiving. So this one's getting the heavy oil, for instance. Then it should always be able to pass through the empty barrels back through the other direction. And if our circuit condition stuff is set up properly, then this container should never fill up. So that hopefully works out fine. First thing we want to do with all those barrels is to recycle them back into steel plates. And those steel plates go into a buffer chest here, and then they go onto the belt intended for the steel plates. And since they enter the belt before the delivery chest, they should always have priority over the delivery chest to enter the belt there. If the steel plates ever back up, and then this chest can't empty, and then this thing can't process the barrels, and the barrels back up, that could be a big problem. So we've got a second option for empty barrels here. We can scrap them. And to make sure we're only doing this when the steel plates are backed up, we are reading the contents of this container, and if there's more than 500 steel ingots in that buffer chest, then this inserter will kick on, it will enable. Then we'll start scrapping the extra barrels. And that scrap is getting sent here to this other recycling facility to be converted into landfill. That landfill is going to go in here. And hopefully it'll take a bazillion years for that to fill up before we have to check on it. I've hooked up all the different delivery cannon chests to a single string of wire, and I've set all the targets for the delivery cannons. They're ready to go. I just have to turn them on. I got all the delivery cannons connected together, and they're going into a single arithmetic combinator. And this time, to simplify it, we're just using this symbol here, which basically means we're taking all the signals that we're transmitting to this thing, we're inverting them by multiplying by -1, and then we're outputting each one of those. And then I'm just using a single constant combinator to designate how much I want to have in any of these delivery cannon chests at any one time. Okay, I think it's the moment of truth. I think it's time to turn on the delivery cannons. I've already given them all their targets. They just have to be enabled. So here we go. Oh, this might get noisy. Might get noisy. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, kaboom. Bing, bang, boom. Bing, bang, bang, bang. Rat-a-tat-tat. Rat-a-tat. I can't even hear myself think. It's so noisy. Okay. And all of our stuff is being delivered. Awesome. We have to go to Morpheus to do the last ones. We've got to deliver this guy. Turn on. That's the last one. Close that. And we've got items, and if everything's set up properly, they will not blow everything up. Hopefully they shut down properly. The fluids are going to take a little bit longer because they've got to fill the tanks. Oh, look at this guy going. He's got little gaskets going up and down, zipping left and right, converting our empty barrels back into steel. Oh, this is already super backed up. Okay, that might be a problem. Although we're delivering a lot more now than we will in the long run because it will equalize eventually once the storage tanks fill up. So I guess what I'll do is I'll keep an eye on it once our science is actually up and running and I know what the steady supply of empty barrels we're going to be getting is. I don't think it's going to be that much. And this thing is backing up. It should start backing up basically right now. And then I'll turn on the recycling facility. And just a short while later, dead silence. Everything has stopped being delivered because all the containers are as full as we want them. The storage tanks have all filled up, so this all caught up. We processed all the barrels, and we'll just keep an eye on it. We might need to expand our recycling facility setup as we go, as we start adding more stuff here. Just keep an eye on it so that the whole thing doesn't explode and die. But we do have one final test just to make sure that the setup is working properly. Cut out the power. And then what? We check on Nalvis, and all the inserters are still disabled, so we no longer are going to have any problems if we run out of power or if there's power outs or meteors knock out some power line or anything like that. Setup functions just fine. So with all that done, we can get to work setting up the actual science. Alright, slight miscalculation on my part. Turns out we need sulfur up here. We need sulfur to produce some thermofluid. And we can't make it up here in a chemical plant because you can't put a chemical plant in space. Doesn't work. It's not a space machine. We could set up another delivery device to deliver the sulfur, but it won't be too hard to make in just a minute because we're going to get access to this guy, the Biochemical Facility, another machine that works in space, inside which we can make the sulfur. So we're going to do a little bit of advanced research. When I first arrived up here, found this satellite thing, there was some, and I guess it's for this kind of thing, to give you a little bit of leeway to make mistakes, which I have done, so thanks, I guess. But it left us some rocket science packs, which we are going to use. We can also test out how fast these things are. Instead of having 2 productivity module slots, they've got 6. That's pretty cool. They also have a default speed of 24. Yeah, 24. That is ridiculous. Now it's down to 4.8. Did I put the thing? Let's put that in there. We can see just how many science packs there are in this mod pack. This is ridiculous. It's going to be really hard to set up any kind of layout that supplies all of these at once. Maybe we can rule some out that we'll only need a little bit of. Anyway, let's get this science underway. Biochemical facility. Let's go. Oh, they're spinning. Oh, that's super cool. They're disco. They are literally giant disco balls. Need to get some bell bottoms on my spacesuit. And it's done. All right, fantastic. So I've been crafting some additional low-density structures in here, and with that, we should be able to make the new machine. Biochemical, this recipe. Oh, I need a space manufacturer, which I happen to have. We need to make the new machine, the biochemical. There it is. All right, there it is. Biochemical facility. All that just for some sulfur. Oh, I guess we can do all kinds of chemical stuff. Crafting speed of 4. No recipe. Sulfur. There we go. Problem solved. All right, let's let her rip. Let's connect up all the belts right there. Then down here, we got to connect up a few pipes. There's the lubricant connected, the petroleum gas, the water, and the heavy oil. We'll walk around and make sure that everything's working properly and nothing's exploding. I've added some extra infrastructure over here as well to deal with sudden influxes of extra barrels as we adjust to new sections getting added, basically, when it's not just running under a continual minimal load, but like a sudden peak influx. So there is a buffer chest here to deal with a lot of barrels to get them off of the belt, which also gets them out of these containers. That's the main thing. We don't want this filling up because then we will have explosions. And I've added some extra recycling facilities to process those barrels back into steel plates a little bit faster, and an additional recycler to process them into scrap. We'll see if that works out. If that's not enough for all the barrels we're going to need as we start adding more stuff, I can always add more infrastructure to the left to deal with it, or just rework the whole thing. We'll see. Over here, is everything working? We've got the sulfur getting made. That's going in here to craft some thermofluid. And then up here around the corner, we are making some cosmic water. That's a lot of cosmic water you're storing in there. 600. Oh, that's going to use up a lot of water. Okay, so we're going to have a lot of barrels coming in because of that until that, I guess it's going to eventually reach a maximum amount. I guess it just stacks into a super high capacity. Can I hold these? I think that's, yeah, that's a liquid. That goes through pipe. Can't pick that up, so I guess this thing just holds a ton of it. And then that is going in there with some petroleum gas to make some chemical gel. The chemical gel has got an underground pipe here. We're making a rough data storage substrate. We've got a 50% chance to output scrap, so the scrap goes on that belt there, off to get processed. And then the substrate gets polished by the chemical gel, and then it goes into this guy. And he gets a circuit and some copper, gets made into a blank data card. Basically, we're doing science in space. We're doing experiments. We got to run this information through some supercomputers. And the supercomputers need liquid cooling. So the liquid cooling stuff, the thermofluid, is running through a radiator, which cools it down. And then it comes out warmer, and it cycles back through the radiator. Every time it goes through the radiator, we lose 1 thermofluid. We go from 50 to 49. So I've got a circuit condition on this guy. It's just a wire reading the contents of this container. And he's just saying if there is less than 100 of the thermofluid in this guy, then the pump turns on and the thermofluid can go on. But mostly we want to recycle it as much as possible. we've got everything getting made in here for the rocket science pack, except for the satellite telemetry, which is in this container here. I haven't put it in these guys, so let's do this. I'm going to put all my stuff in there, then I'm going to grab a bunch of that. I'm going to put that in there, and that in there, and that in there, and that in there. Nope, other way. There we go. And as this stuff processes through, we will get rid of this chest. We'll go down to just one. Eventually, we'll start using some more cargo rockets to bring up stuff like this, and also the science packs, which are over there. The terrestrial ones, I guess we could say. They're not made in space, the ones we make on Nalvis. Let's go ahead and hook those guys up. And we can start doing some science. And it doesn't really matter what we're doing. We're going to do all these guys. Maybe, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Genetics facility, sure, why not? Let's get to work on that. And I don't know if I have the right number of space science laboratories. We'll just play that by ear. I'll add one if it's backing up, and if not, I won't. There is one particularly tricky area of the build here. So we're making these machine learning data computer chip things in this supercomputer. And that needs to get put into here. But then another thing we're getting is a junk data card when we're done with our science or whatever. And that we can process. We have a 70% chance to get a blank data card back and a 30% chance to get a broken data card. So the broken data card gets turned into scrap, and that gets turned into landfill. Looks like we don't even have enough for one landfill yet. That's good, so we don't have to worry about this thing for a really long time. But the tricky bit is that we don't want the blank data card backing up in here and shutting down the whole loop. So I created a little priority loader here using a splitter with input priority. And so it will always accept input from the left side first. Right now, it's backed up on this side. So there's a little bit extra space on the belt, and that should prevent the loop from shutting down, from getting stuck. And we'll just keep an eye on that to make sure that's working the way I think it's going to work. 2,300 cosmic water. How much cosmic water does this thing hold? That is a ridiculous amount of cosmic water. That's too much for one machine. Why do you have that much? Oh, this thing's got 6,000 chemical gel. That doesn't seem right. Why does it hold so much? That's ridiculous. It's going to take forever for my stuff to catch up down here, for the liquids. Yeah, look at the water. The water's not designed to keep up with that. We don't need all that cosmic water all at once, but it's holding it, and I can't really slow it down. Anyway, the science seems to be working, and I'll continue to monitor it to see if there's any problems. We're just going to go through these guys as I keep an eye on it. So a few small modifications. I added several extra space science labs to make sure we're making use of all the science we're generating, and this number seems to be appropriate because the line has not backed up, so that means we're continuing to use it as it's being generated. So I think that number is going to work for now. In addition, I added a filter inserter here to fix an issue that I forgot about, I guess. We've got two outputs here. And so there was a chance for the broken data card to get put onto this belt, which did jam things up. I fixed it. I reversed the setting on the space splitter. Yeah, the space splitter. You're splitting a belt, you're not splitting space. That's way more advanced. Anyway, that works just fine. But there is a little bit of RNG involved in this recipe. We've got a 70% chance for a blank data card, 30% for a broken data card. But if we happen to get lucky continuously, we get a lot of blank data cards all at once, this belt could potentially back up. So I put a small buffer chest here just to make sure that the RNG has time to even out over time. So that's pretty good. That has been working for a while. I've researched all kinds of stuff, and I must say the pacing of this mod pack is a little bit wonky. My base is inactive for large stretches of time while I figure out new technologies and new things, new mechanics in the mod pack, new machines. And then I build the thing, and then we unlock all kinds of stuff all at once. A whole bunch of new machines I've just unlocked. We got new modules there. We've got all kinds of new materials we can process. We're going to have 3 different types of metal. I guess 4 if you count the Vitamelange here. We got all kinds of different stuff there we can make now. We got, what is this? A new data pad thingy. We can upgrade our jetpack, a new battery, new armor, all that kind of stuff. But probably the most significant thing is we got an upgrade to our robot speed. So I'm going to try to do a side-by-side test here. I'm going to stand here by this big electric pole, and I'm going to try to pick this up, and I'm going to load a older save that I have with the older, slower robot speed, and we'll compare them side by side, see how good the upgrade is. Here we go. Oh, seriously, autosave? Yeah, you're going to ruin my experiment. Okay, thanks, autosave. I cannot believe you just did that to me, autosave. Ridiculous. I'm going to have you excommunicated or something. Alright, there we go, side by side. And speaking of jetpack, I did unlock a few different upgrades for modules that will fit in our power armor and our thruster suit. So I've got a jetpack equipment Mark II we can make here. Let's make 2 of those, and we can make personal battery Mark II. They have 5 times the capacity of the Mark I, 20 megajoules to 100 megajoules. Let's make a few of those. I did also unlock adaptive armor Mark III, but I've left all my armors on Nauvis on the surface. Haven't needed to fight aliens for a while. We may need to craft these, though, when we go back to our Vulcanite expansion. We want to investigate that pyramid we found with all the aliens inside of it. And the jetpack just says it has thrust of 2. The original one has thrust of 1. Let's just do a little comparison. I'm wearing 1. That seems pretty zippy. I don't know if gravity has an effect. I think the planets have gravity. All right, we'll take that guy off, and we'll put one of these guys in here. Should be twice as good. Seems faster. I wouldn't say twice as fast, but yeah, seems good. Let's actually take those batteries out of there. Let's put a second jetpack. Is that 4 times as good as 1? No, I don't think so. Maybe the top speed is 4 times as good. I think there's some diminishing returns going on, but that's pretty zippy. When I have my power armor on and I've got more space for them, I think those will be pretty good. But up here in space, I guess I don't really need the batteries up here, though, because we are always... Now, maybe I do need the batteries, because the robots use a lot of juice, and my portable RTGs cannot keep up with them when I'm using them a lot of the time. So anyway, we've unlocked a whole bunch of stuff. We're getting some new upgrades that are listed up here in our bonuses tab. And we have, from this point forward, 4 science specialties we can go down. The Astronomic Catalog, which unlocks Astronomic Science Pack 1. And that has to do with spaceships, stuff like that. Then there is the Biological Science Pack, which has to do with alien life. We get the Spidertron. I haven't really looked at it in too much depth, but there's a bunch of stuff there. Then there's also the Energy Catalog 1, which has energy stuff, eventually some fusion power and beaming energy around and different power poles. There is a weapon delivery cannon. And then the 4th specialization is Material Catalog 1. And that has a whole bunch of stuff to research. Of those 4, I think the 2 I want to go down initially is the Energy Science, because it's going to get us 2 more ranks of worker robot speed. And then I want to go down the Material Science, because it's going to get us worker cargo size and a personal roboport Mark II. All of those are going to make it so that I can build things faster. That's going to help as we scale things up and have to build more and more outposts and stuff. That is going to make things so much easier. We also get more inventory space. That's pretty nice. We also get in the Energy Science Pack the Space Railway, which is going to be useful up here as our science area production stuff in space gets bigger and bigger. Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks, autosave.